بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا مولانا محمد عبده ورسوله صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فخلف من بعدهم خلف أضاعوا الصلاة واتبعوا الشهوات فسوف يلقون غيا إلا من تاب وعمل معاملة صالحا فأولئك يدخلون الجنة ولا يظلمون شيئا صدق الله العظيم. Now Nabi Rahmatullah alayhi, the previous chapter which he chose was not to have an unjust love for the world and to focus our attention towards the hereafter is a reality. And he said the basis of all evils is unjust love of the world. Now, which thing will bring about the love of this world, and what methods we adopt will bring about the love of this world, make us more engrossed into this world. Those things and those avenues are being mentioned in this chapter here. And at the same time, the virtues are explained to us how to stay hungry also, and to work hard also, and to be hard working, as is being mentioned here. And the virtues of eating less and wearing sufficient clothes and to live a simple life is being mentioned here. At the same time, the virtues of curbing your desires and your carnal desires that is being mentioned in this chapter here now. Generally, we see when a person has some desires within himself and he wants to try and fulfill his desires. For that now he will want to have good food also, want to wear good clothes also, want to enjoy himself also, and he want to lift the standard in such a way they can be recognized amongst people also. And the result for that is what now is going to work towards such a thing, to adopt such strategies or adopt, they can fulfill their demands of his. Once a person increases his status, then his expenses also increases. Now to fulfill his expenses, he got to work now to achieve that expenses. For that he could acquire the wealth of this world. He's got to acquire. Now when the person starts acquiring the wealth of this world and acquires a wealth according to the manner showed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he cannot fulfill the desires of his now, cannot fulfill the status of his now. Now what he does now, he'll turn towards such avenues which are not liked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not approved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and oppose the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to acquire these things now. And this thing will be a means of his destruction now. So it shows how important it is to understand this principle, that if you can increase our status, then we go to work more harder to maintain that status within ourselves. And if you can't work hard and get that wealth according to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the person will opt for haram after that. And that haram was the first step for his destruction to get it. So that's why Hazrat Imam Nabi Rahmatullah brought about this chapter here, which he brought many ayats and hadiths which put forward. You can understand how important it is for us to limit our temptations, to limit our desires, and to limit our standard of living in such a way that we don't fall into that category where we disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and disregard the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we don't thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the ni'mat He has given to us. That's why previously also we mentioned that the example of this world is like a person who is a traveler. When a person travels somewhere and is going somewhere, so on the way if he has some type of difficulties come about, because some less food also he takes less clothes also with him, whatever it is, to make his journey comfortable. And if any difficulty took place in between also, he'll bear the difficulties happily. He knows I was just a traveler now. After a few hours I'll reach my place again. Or after a few days I'll reach my destination again after that. And then I'll get all things of my comfort will be present there. So he doesn't mind a little bit of difficulties on that way. In the same manner, you also can understand this world is just like a station for us, which is a passing way for us. Where you have difficulties come in between, if you make sabr on that, if you have patience on that, then we will overcome that and we'll reach our aim and object, that is the hereafter and Jannah to achieve that. So some Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gives as examples normally for a person to understand, make him understand very easily what is the purpose of our creation. And for this example, you can understand very easily that how when a person travels, he doesn't take his whole house wherever he goes. But only little bit limited goods he take with him to give him comfort on the way. And with whatever goods he took, it gets finished also. He won't worry much about it. He'll stay without it, he'll do without it, but he knows after a few days he's going to reach home again. So in the same manner, understand from here, Adam Islam came from Jannah, and we are his progeny, and we're going to go back to Jannah. We're going to go. So this world is only a passing phase for us, where we go to obey the command of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and reach our destination. It is Jannah we will reach. But this world is not our ultimate destination. Our ultimate destination is Jannah, in other words. Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu anhu was a very great Sahab of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. In one sitting, when Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave glad tidings to some Sahaba, from the he was one of the Sahaba also whom Nabi Kareem Sallallahu gave glad tidings of Jannat. After the demise when Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when the Sahabas got together in a place called Saqifa Banu Sa'ida to discuss now who must become the leader, who must look after them after Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. In that place, there has Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. When he reached there, then he gave a small little talk, a khutbah he gave, and from there he explained that according to me, there are two people in mind who must be our leader now. One is Umar radiallahu anhu, the second is Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu anhu. And Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said concerning Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu anhu, Aminu hadal ummah, he is the most trustworthy of my ummah, he is. So this quality was given to him, when the title was given to him Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because he possessed that quality within himself. And in reality, why this title was given to him was because once somebody came to Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, a group of people they came, and requested Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to send some trustworthy person to them. They can collect the jizya from them and bring to Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam replied, I will send such a person who is most trustworthy amongst my ummah, my Sahaba. So at that time all the Sahaba were worried to see now whose name is going to be taken now, who's going to be chosen for this work. And Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam chose the name of Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu anhu and sent him. And people came to know that he is the most trustworthy among the Sahaba Kiram Rajma'in. Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam turned towards the Sahaba Kiram Rajma'in and told them that every person amongst you, I can question them on something I can question them, and they won't be able to give a proper explanation or answer for it. There's only Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu anhu who has got this quality that he will be able to answer everything what I was asking for. That was how so much trustworthy he was, and because of that quality, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave him the glad tidings of Jannah in this world also, and at the same time chose him to win to do the stars for him also. And at the same time, he gave sacrifice a lot in the path of the deen also. He first made hijrat to Habsha, Abyssinia, he did also, and then a second hijrat to Medina Munawwara. That was two hijrats he made in his life. And at the time of the Battle of Badr also, at that time he fought a lot of valor and a lot of courage, he fought also. And from the side of the kuffar, his father was also from the side of the kuffar, and his father was in a lookout to kill his son, because he brought Iman and was Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But many times, as Ubaidah bin Jarrah said that he saw his father in front of him, just seeing that it was his father, he avoided him. But at one instance, he was just confronted with his father in front, and at that time the Iman became more strong in him, and over the kufr that the person had, so but the Iman is jazba, he killed his father. Imagine what a great sacrifice he did. He gave preference to Islam, he gave preference to Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he gave preference to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and he killed his father. The person does feel very hurt to kill a father, but here because of Islam, because of the love of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he killed his father also. Imagine what a great sacrifice he gave for Islam in other words. As Umar radiallahu anhu once he said that if I could leave this world and I'm going to appoint somebody as my successor, and I will appoint Hazrat Ubaydah bin Jarrah radiallahu anhu. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to ask me of Qiyamah, that who do you leave the affairs of the state with after you left the world? I'll say, I left the person whom your Habib Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said he's Amin, he's most trustworthy. He is. Such a person I left behind. So these were all his qualities which Jarrah had with himself. At the same time, you'll find when the battle took place between the Romans also. And the last battle that took place between the Romans was called the Battle of Yarmouk. And there he was the leader of the whole army. And through him, the Romans lost the battle. And because of that, now the whole Arabia and Syria, all the area came under the rule of Islam became. And after that, the Romans couldn't have an upper hand over the Muslims. So that's why they say he is the conqueror of Rome. And had Umar radiallahu anhu once sent him as a governor to Sham, to Syria. And the habit of Umar radiallahu anhu was that to send people to different expeditions, different work, different responsibilities, but at the same time should keep a watchful eye over them also. That after they've got some position, whatever it is from the state, for example, now from Umar radiallahu anhu, mustn't land up into some type of a comfort zone and start collecting wealth and change their way of living, whatever it is. So as Umar radiallahu anhu sometimes hide away somewhere, sometimes ask somebody, should send somebody behind it, when ask to find what's happening to the people. That's how we should make the tarbiyat of the Sahaba should make. Hazrat Abu Hurairah once sent out somewhere on a deputation also somewhere. And when he was sent for some work, he called him back to Madinah Munawwara. When he was coming to Madinah Munawwara, he went outside of Madinah Munawwara and hid behind one tree somewhere to see how Abu Hurairah will come back to Madinah Munawwara. Did he bring a whole lot of goods with him? Or did it come like how he left from here? He came the same manner he came. In him coming home like how he left from here, he got satisfied that the person I was chosen for a certain task was a good choice of mine, in other words. Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu once, which suffered to Syria also, you can see what's happening in that area around there. And because that Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah was the governor of Syria, he was his visitor, he went there. And he went there and saw the affairs, saw whatever problems going to be sorted out, the mashurs be given again, the mashur, whatever it is. After he told her that Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, I'll go to your house, visit the home also. Hazrat Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah told him that, why you come visit my house? You will only cry, nothing more that will happen. So he said, no, whatever it is, I want to go to home also. In other words, as Umar radiallahu anhu's nature was to see how is he living, did he increase his level of status of living, or is living the same how Nabi Sallallahu left him behind. That was his main object and purpose, to see that. When he went out of the skirts of outskirts of the town, and he came to his house like a small little tent it was. He entered the tent, the small house, it was a mud house it was. Then he saw only three things inside. So what he saw the one leather skin that was there. There was one wooden bowl there, and there was one leather container for water inside. Asked him that, this is all the goods you possess in your home. He said, definitely, this is all the goods I possess, and so much goods are enough for a person to reach his grave, in other words. If you got more goods than this, how to reach his grave? He said, now this time he said, this much is enough for me to reach my grave. And he tried to draw the attention of Umar, now what more must I do in this world besides this? This much is sufficient for me to live. And he said that this life is just like a passing phase, it is only, and one day we got to die, and we got to be present to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and actual life is the life of the Akhirat. So this was the tarbiyat Nabi Kareem sallallahu gave the Sahaba Kiram, and they had it within themselves all the times this one. As Umar asked him, what do you eat here in this house then? So he formed the cracks of the wall. He took out a few pieces of roti. He said, this is my food which I eat. I put it into the bowl, put some water inside, make it soft, and I eat this. Imagine this person who won the battle of Rome, and he's a conqueror of Rome, in other words. This was his condition of life, where the people of the Roman Empire also should get frightened by hearing his name also. So they knew the object in life was to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not to raise a status in this world and acquire wealth, and then not to fulfill the demands of this wealth in this world. Then the year after you could give account for this wealth also. Like before we read, the people who got wealth will go 500 years after into Jannah they will go. So they had that focus in their mind all the time. And this was how Nabi Kareem Sallallahu made a little bit of the Sahaba, in other words. So all the Sahaba, we see in their life also, will find that they didn't have any value of this world at all. Their main focus and object was the year after always. And at that time out in the world, there were two superpowers in the world at that time. One was the Kisra, who was the king of Iran, and one was Caesar, who was the king of Rome. Others like how, and nowadays you have presidents and you have prime ministers, whatever it is. Their title, the leader of Iran was called Kisra, and the leader of Rome was called Caesar. So these were two superpowers at that time, and the Muslims fought, had a battle with them, and they overpowered them. And they never remained a superpower after that, because there was a lot of wealth came to the Muslims also. But in spite of all the wealth coming to the Muslims, they never changed their living habits, their living standards. They never changed living standards. They loved how they were living in the time of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu, he was sent as a governor to Madain, and he should wear simple clothes. People could recognize him whether he was the governor of the area or he was an ordinary person. So one day while he was walking in the bazaar, one businessman came from out of town to come to his business work, and he had some goods with him. So he saw that Salman radiallahu anhu, will you do work for me or not? He said, definitely, why not? So he picked up his goods and put on his head and started walking to where he was put up. When he started going into the bazaar, and people started telling this businessman, what is wrong with you? Why are you taking work from the governor like this? He said, I never recognized the governor. I thought it was an ordinary worker he was. And he started asking for forgiveness for Salman radiallahu anhu. Salman said that there was the niyat with which I started doing the good work. I won't forfeit that niyat, whatever. I'll complete work and I'll go from there. Otherwise, we started I think with good action, action with good intention. They make sure they completed good action. They never leave it half in between. So this was the condition of the Sahaba Kiram Zameen, where they knew their focus and they knew their limits, and they knew. So in reality, we find that the person who uses the least amount of this world, the comforts of the world, and he will use so much of the world which is necessary for him to live. And if his standard of living is of that degree, then he'll work according to that one. He won't overwork himself. He won't work more than that. Otherwise, the person will always think, no, why must I get the extra money from now to fulfill this desire of mine, to fulfill this need of mine? How to get this thing with him? And then that time, if he works according to the law of the Shariat and acquires the wealth, then there's nothing wrong in that. But still, he could account for the wealth, whatever it is. And he having got this within himself, he doesn't have to work for so much extra. So the result, he's got less world with him, and he could answer less to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when the person started acquiring the world, he started working more and more. And whatever now, slowly, the love of the world become more and more slowly. And he won't even imagine, he won't even understand that the love of the world is increasing more and more, but it will be more, that will lead towards that. That's why in the Quran and Hadith also, we have been mentioned and cautioned again and again to look after our nafs, and look after our desires, to keep our desires under control, keep our focus in the proper channels, must keep it, and don't slip of our own desires. If you look at the situation of the people in the world, how they behave and what they do, you come to understand that there isn't a balance in our lives. For one thing, we exert ourselves. For the other side, we don't exert ourselves. Why is that difference in our natures? For example, a person has got a lot of desires within himself. For that, he sacrifices also. To fulfill the desires, he sacrifices himself also. For example, a person wants to work somewhere. He works for somewhere. So when work, then he'll wake up early in the morning to go to work. He knows if I don't go to work early in the morning, I won't work on time, I'll get less wages, I won't be able to fulfill my needs. For that, he'll wake up early in the morning to go to work. Here, Hazrat Mustakim give example. For example, he say from Surat to go to Bombay, there's one train called flying, which leaves early in the morning. In winter, it leaves after Fajr, and some leaves early before Fajr it leaves. So the person wakes up early in the morning, he sacrifices his sleep just to catch the train to reach on time to Bombay. On the other hand, the person wants to go to Ahmedabad in other opposite direction, then there's other train which is called a Queen. You go to catch this train. Versus this train here, then he's going to wait for the other passenger trains and other modes of transport which are taking very long to reach this place. So the person, because he got to work, he'll make sure he sacrifices his sleep also, his time also, and make it on time to go to the station to catch a train. And at the same time, the person got a factory, for example, he'll go to work also on time. He'll go to office to work and see how the workers are working. He'll keep an eye on the workers also. He'll see the production carrying on in there. He'll meet the customers also, whatever it is. So much so they'll have breakfast at home, and he won't have lunch also sometimes also. And come home tired in the evening and have supper only at home level. So he'll adopt all types of means just to make sure that his factory is running well. So for that he'll sacrifice so much. And why does he sacrifice all this? All the sacrifice he put forward is just because he must get more income. He must get. So considering the world, to progress in this world, we are prepared to undergo so much of difficulties, undergo so much of sacrifice we undergo. But now the question arises now: how much do we sacrifice for the Akhirat now? For the world, we have sacrificed so much. How much do we sacrifice for the ni'mats of the Akhirat? And we know that the ni'mats of the year after is everlasting, it's permanent. It is, and the ni'mats of this world are not permanent. It just lasts till our life. So how much do we sacrifice and put strategies in action for us to acquire the ni'mats of the year after? So why is this differentiation in there? Why is this imbalance in there? For the world we want to work so much, and for the Akhirah we don't sacrifice so much. Why is that? So for the world we can sacrifice our sleep also, we can sacrifice our comfort also, we can sacrifice our hunger also, just to get something of the world, so that we can live happy in this world. And sometimes we deliver our food also, whatever it is. It depends on type of work we are doing. So much of sacrifice we undergo, and so much so that, for example, there's a wedding with some relative of yours, and say must come for the wedding in the week some days. But will say, I can't come for the wedding. Please excuse me. I got my work to go. I got my shop, whatever I do. I'll lose my customers, whatever it is. If you have a wedding on Sunday, I'll come, no problem. Sunday shop is closed, no problem. So much we are prepared to sacrifice for this world. So just trying to explain to us, he said that for this world we are prepared to sacrifice so much for this world. So much of effort we make to acquire a little bit of comfort of the world. But what about the comforts of the year after now? So how much are we going to sacrifice to acquire the comforts of the year after? So we understand the reality of this world, then we'll understand how much we sacrifice for the year after we will sacrifice also. So there must be a balance in our life, in our life. And we know that this world is temporary, the year after is permanent. We know that. If you just make a little bit, just analyze a little bit and see our fathers, for example, our grandfathers, our great-grandfathers, great-great-grandfathers. If you try and analyze, where are they now? They're in the graves already now. How long in the graves? For many, many years in the grave. More than 90 years, more than 100 years they're in the grave. So it shows that the life and they lived in the world for 60 years, 70 years, 80 years they lived in the world. And in the grave now, more than 100 years they're in the grave. So life in the grave is much more longer than life of this world. So why don't we work for our grave so much that will help us in our grave? This world work so much that will help us in this world work. We have the balance in our system, then you'll live a very comfortable life. That's what Nabi Kareem taught us, how to live a comfortable life in this world and prepare for the year after, which is a permanent life where you can live happily in the year after. If you look at ourselves, look at our lives, and we look at the life of our elders, how was their lives? We find that our elders also lived in this world, and they lived in this world so much that they prepared for the year after. Whatever they sacrificed for the year after. And we also live in this world also, but what we do, whatever we do, we want to enjoy in this world, whatever it is. And the time will come and leave everything back in this world, and we go with empty-handed to go away. So there's a difference between us and our elders. Elders live in this world also. They also, but they prepared for the year after, and they went away. And we prepare only for this world, and we're not preparing anything for the year after. So it shows that we could try and make assessment of ourselves and try and see that whatever we do to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that's what is going to help us in the year after. So in other words, an intelligent person is that person who will adopt the correct path, the correct understanding, and he'll have a proper, good choice he'll have with himself. That's why in the Quran also, in the Hadith also, you'll find that we encourage that eat how much is necessary, clothe yourself how much is necessary also, and the least amount of the use of the world, the more you're going to benefit in the year after. And try and save yourself from the desires of your nafs, your carnal desires, to keep it under control, and live a life of sincerity in the world. So the person who lives a simple and comfortable life in this world, and that person will have patience within himself also. And at the same time, Allah will bless him more than what he needs, then he will make shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The person who makes shukr also will go to Jannat. The person who makes sabr also will go to Jannat. So you're going to understand the teachings of the Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam are so simple and so easy for a person to understand. So whatever condition Allah will keep you in, don't be satisfied with the condition. Allah give you more, then make shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now your responsibility is more now. Because Allah gave you more now, you must utilize that wealth according to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You got to give zakat also, to give sadaqah also, help the poor people, help the people in need also, you got to look after them, look after relatives also, whatever it is. Now this wealth Allah has given you extra will be a bonus for you. It will help you in the year after, it will help you. But if you don't do that, the responsibility attached to the wealth, then you will be losing out. The person who's got has got less in this world, then he makes sabr, have patience on what Allah has given to him, he also will go to Jannah. So it shows how important it is for us to understand the small teachings of the Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which will give us comfort and success in this world also, and also in the year after also. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Maryam, فَخَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ. So before this ayat, Allah Ta'ala mentions the instance of the other Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, that they should read namaz also, establish namaz also, read namaz on a time also, so to be very cautious of the farais, wajibat, the sunnah namaz also, and their life was in total obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, after that, Allah Ta'ala said now, the people who came after them now, khalfun, the people who came up, and khalfun now, those children who come after them, but they haven't got the qualities of the elders within themselves. They haven't got the ways and habits of the elders within them. The standard which they left behind, they now maintain the standard of the elders. So whatever good work they were doing, they now keep up with that good work. So they were not aligned with the good qualities of the elders. So this type of people in Arabic is called khalfun. So although they were not a true inheritors of the elders. What quality the elders has within them, they never inherited the good qualities within themselves. They opposed their way of life. And what was it? Adau salah. So they abandoned namaz, in other words. The elders should read namaz properly, and fulfill the rights of the namaz, and these people abandoned namaz now. The completely opposite to the elders now. What about shahawat? And they started following their own desires now. So these two things they started doing now. One is they never follow up with the reading of namaz, ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They start following their own desires now. So these people, they will get a bad return for it, in other words. Illa man taba, but those people will turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and will ask for tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they bring iman to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they do good deeds they do. If these people come to realize, if they have made a mistake, our elders were not like that, how we could adopt the method of our elders, we get on, and they make tawbah from their wrong ways, and they change their lives for the better now, then these people, Allah will forgive them and give them Jannah also. And to Allah Ta'ala to reward them for the good actions, Allah Ta'ala won't decrease their reward also, in other words. So here what we have been taught, in other words, is that whatever our elders were doing, we try and live a life according to what our elders taught us. So now a family life, family system Islam promotes. The family system means whatever the elders were doing, that's how the children must carry on with that, what generation must carry on that way there. Then you'll find that we are progressing. Like we find when Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told the Sahab, a time will come when people will amend the Quran, they won't have to read the Quran also. Sahabas couldn't understand, they were so stunned. They say, how can it be possible? We teaching our children teach our children, they teach their children, and things will carry on like that. And if some said, a time will come like that. So imagine that time has come now when the fathers, the forefathers were hafiz of the Quran, were ulama, and the children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren now, they know nothing of deen, they know. So it shows that the system, the family system is which the Sharia promotes. If you keep a system within itself, and if the children emulate and follow the system of their parents, then this system will remain in their family all the time. In other words, we got to inculcate Islamic culture in our daily lives, in our family lives. When we have the Islamic culture in our lives, for example, to respect our parents, to fulfill the rights of our neighbors, for example, and to distribute the inheritance according to the law of Sharia, for example. And all these small things we have this within our homes, and build a culture of Islamic culture in our homes, and this thing will carry on and carry on. We learn to forgive somebody, for example. We don't do crooked business, we don't do crooked things, we don't harm anybody, we don't hurt anybody. Islam teaches us. We don't speak a lie, we don't backbite of anybody, we don't become jealous or greedy of anybody. So these are qualities which our Sharia has explained to us, which are spiritual diseases. If you look after all those things, then that thing will remain in our family all the time, and find goodness coming in our family. But when we're not going to do this, we're not going to pay attention to this, then slowly the family value also drops, and the family recognition also drops after it, and nobody will remember the family afterwards. So it's important that we have this family system within ourselves and try and inculcate this Islamic Islamic tahzeeb, Islamic culture within our families is very, very important. Because we know very well what is the environment around us nowadays. If we are not going to teach our children in our homes what is right and what is wrong, then they're going to get affected with whatever they hear in the media, whatever they hear in the schools and in the environment from the friends. They'll pick up those habits and start doing those things too. It's important that we make an effort in our homes to explain them and teach them what is right and what is wrong, that they don't get affected with the environment around them. The media around them mustn't affect them. That's why you'll find in many homes you'll find the children who have got their own rooms also, they're not safe in their own rooms also nowadays. Whereas previously the children were safe in the house, in the home they were safe, but now they are not safe. Even in their own home also, they've got a cell phone with them, they've got internet with them, they're doing what they're not supposed to do. One child comes to madrasa and is feeling very sleepy and tired. What's happening? Say, last night I was seeing playing one game and seeing this topic and whatever, seeing all wrong on the phone. I enjoyed it so much that I never sleep at night. So now they're sleeping now. To show that home also they're not safe anymore. So we got to have a system at home where each one understands their responsibilities, and when they understand their responsibilities, have taqwa within themselves, then you don't need parental surveillance on them after that, because they know their responsibilities now. So that's what we got to work on, to bring about that awareness in them, that what are the responsibilities. They must know that what are the, how Nabi Kareem Sallallahu trained the Sahaba Karam. Each Sahaba knew their responsibilities. No matter where they were, they never do something against the law of the Sharia. The same way our children must be taught this, they mustn't go against the law of the Sharia. So in this ayat, for example, two main things have been put forward to us. One is that abandonment of salat, and the second thing is to follow your own desires. To show that these two things are is a great problem in a person's life. These two things must take control of this thing in our life. One is to not abandon our namaz. Namaz is very important, to read our namaz on time, and try and read namaz with all the requirements of namaz. To read with khuzu, read the faraiz also, the sunan also, the wajibat also. Try and improve your namaz daily. Then that namaz, that's something that will help us in our grave also, in the year after also. The second thing is Stay away from your desires, your desires, your carnal desires. Try and put a stop to that. Don't let that overpower you at all. These two things are a means of destruction for a mu'min, in other words. And the important thing, the easiest thing is to keep your desires under control is put your desires under the surveillance of the Shariat. If you accept the Shariat as your guide, then your desires won't overpower you. But once you don't have the Shariat as your guide, and that's where the shaitan will overpower you, desires will overpower you, and you do wrong things. Yes. And the second thing what Allah mentioned here is فَخَرَجَ عَلَىٰ قَوْمِهِ فِي زِينَتِهِ. So Qarun at that time, Allah gave a lot of wealth. Allah gave him, and to look and just to go and see the wealth in the storeroom where he has kept his wealth. He had to have very strong people, a group of people to pick up the keys of his storeroom to open the storeroom. So much wealth he had with himself. And when you go out, to a lot of pomp and glory, you go out and he should display his wealth among the people. Allah said, "Call the yuridun al-hayat ad-dunya," and people who think that this world is only everything for them. What do you do when they go out and show their goodness to people in the world? So what's one sign of that is they would wear good clothes to show off that I've got so good clothes. I've got branded clothes, for example. I've got fashionable clothes, whatever it is. So try and show off his clothing. And second thing is to show off his conveyance, the vehicle he is using. He uses an expensive vehicle to show the people I've got such expensive vehicle, and I'm so wealthy. So the type of clothing he wears, show off that also. The conveyance he wears, the user, that also try to show for that also. The type of food he eats, the quality of the food he eats, that also will try to show off. He'll eat some and throw some away. He won't qadr of the food Allah give him also. When people see this type of pomp and glory among the wealthy people, then the people start thinking that we also must have wealth like this also. We also must live like this also. They start getting jealous of that. Then when Qarun should come out in this manner with expensive clothes also, and to show off the wealth Allah given to him, then the people of the world, people who didn't have a focus of the akhirat, or they what they should say, Ya laytana misla ma utiya Qaruna. How that should be if Allah should give it also wealth like this. Allah should give us wealth like this, then we should also display our wealth among people, and we should have pride within ourselves, we should look comfortable whatever it is. They should have that thought should come to the mind also. Whereas what Allah said, Inna ladu hazin azim, that Allah said that's a very bad share which he has got. So in other words, a person who looks at the apparent condition of a person, and then he desires him to become like them, and he wants those things in his life. So Allah Ta'ala says, وَقَالَ لَدْنَا أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ, and those people whom Allah Ta'ala has given them knowledge, for those people whom Allah Ta'ala has given them the recognition of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, what do they say? وَيْلَكُمْ, the destruction for you. ثواب الله خير لمن آمن وعمل صالحا. So rather do those actions which will help you in the year after will help you. Maybe you get the reward, it will be perpetual, an eternal reward it will be. And that is better for the people that bring iman Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do good actions. So those people of the world who only the purpose and object is only this world, they will say rather Allah should give us so much of wealth also, we should live a comfortable life, whatever, just speak like that. But those people whom Allah has given them understanding, those whom Allah has given them knowledge and education, those people who Allah has given them recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what will their answer be? They'll speak the other way around. They will say no, that it's better for a person to bring iman on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do good actions. That iman, good actions, that will be is permanent, and that's what's going to help a person. So no wealth is wealth which is going to benefit you, except that wealth which pass over for the akhirat, in other words. So the good action you do, that sawab is gone for the akhirat already, and that's what is going to help you. No matter in this world, whatever you can have also, how much wealth you can have in this world, and you don't fulfill the rights of this wealth, that it does not going to help you anyways, it won't help you. So Allah makes us understand how the people of the world think, how the people of the akhirat think. So we must think like how the people of the akhirat think must think, that whatever action, good actions we are going to do, that good action is going to help us in the year after. People can have whatever they can have in the world, whatever expensive cars they can have, expensive homes they can have, expensive clothing they can have, expensive food they can have, up to that whatever they want to do. But we must worry that what good actions are we going to do? Have we got our iman intact or not? And are we looking after our iman or not? That's what's going to help us in the qabr in the year after. We got to worry for those things. We got to worry for those things there. So then, furthermore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. On the day of Qiyamah, Allah Ta'ala is going to question you for all the ni'mat Allah has given to you. In the world, a person always have a desire, Allah must give me this also, Allah must give me that also. But the person has got to think with that, whatever ni'mat Allah has given to you, whatever bounties Allah has given to you, all that ni'mat Allah has given to you, Allah will ask you on the day of Qiyamah to fulfill the rights of this ni'mat or not. So what are you going to answer then? If you fulfill the rights of the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you are in the benefit. What is the wealth Allah has given to you, and you fulfill the rights of that wealth. You are not grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have pride within yourself, you have arrogance within yourself, you're showing off with it. So now Allah Ta'ala will ask you concerning that wealth. Did you give that wealth to do this in the world, or to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or to prepare for the year after? No matter what wealth, no matter what ni'mat Allah has given in the world, whether it can be health, whether it can be free time, whether it can be wealth, it can be whether it is food or drinking, whether it can be our clothing, whether it can be our houses, our conveniences, whatever it is, Allah will ask us for concerning all these ni'mat. Allah will ask us. It shows how important for us to understand that whatever ni'mat is given to us, but try to fulfill the rights of that ni'mat. If you've got free time, utilize the time in acquiring the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Use the free time to acquire the akhirat, doing good actions. That's when health, then utilize that health to do good work. Once a person gets sick now, he can't do any good works. So once a person is occupied, he can't do any good works. When Allah has given the free time, utilize the free time what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah has given you the health also, look after the health and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has given you wealth also, spend the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever it is. In that manner, people look after the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you are progressing, you are benefiting in that manner. In the Quran also, many different places will find the same topic will come about in different forms. It will come about. Allah Ta'ala explain to us that ponder over the reality of life. What is life? How is life going to be? Whatever it is. For small things, people start arguing with one another. The one place a person went to a barber shop and told the barber shop, I got two wives now, and one wife like white hair, one wife like black hair. What must I do now? So he said, why don't you fight with it? He said, just cut it off, finish. No argument after that now. So one person went to the barber, I just count how much white hair and how much black hair I got, man. He cut his hair and said, you can't yourself what is it. I was going to that useless questions and useless arguments. What I'm going to do and waste my time useless arguments. So to go into useless arguments, there's something which is wasting our time. Rather use your time in profitable things, something which will benefit you. One person came to one sheikh and told him, amongst your followers, your murideen, they got this fault they got told. So what would the sheikh say, what I want to argue with this person? You know, Allah shukr, alhamdulillah, brought it to my notice now. You will show us few faults. We got so many other faults we got. I'll make dua Allah Ta'ala save us from other faults also. Everything's over, no argument, no dispute, everything's over already. Why are you going to dispute an argument and waste of valuable time where there's no result in that? So our time is very valuable, utilize it profitably, in other words. In one hadith also, the Nabi Kareem Sallallahu explains that once I was going out of the house, and Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam came down, and he explained to me that from the previous ummah, there was one person, he left his home, family, everything, and he went away in one small little island in the middle of the sea. It was like a mountain, like a small little hill, a mountain, small little, and he went away there, and around was only water around him now. And the water around was also salty, it wasn't sweet water also. So he spent his time there just to make ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at the same time, Allah Ta'ala blessed him in such a way that there was one pomegranate tree, they should give him one pomegranate every day to eat from there. And there was one small little stream of water coming out, He should use that water to make his wuzu also, to bath, whatever it is. Use that water to drink also, drink that water. And should make ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For 500 years, this was his mamul, his habit of making ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from morning to evening. Because there was nobody around him there. He had no pride in him also. Just ibadah was for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody was watching, nobody was seeing him. So he didn't have that thought also of having pride in him and making ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then when you want to take my life away and I'm being sijda to you. And at the same time, that the sand also and the atmosphere around me mustn't eat my body also. So Allah accepted that dua of his, and he passed away in such that he passed away. And Allah with such arrangement that nobody can go to that small island where he is also. On the day of Qiyamah, when that person will be brought to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will tell the angels that take him, and because of my further my bounties and my mercy and kindness, put him into Jannah. So this Abid will tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what about all my actions I did for 500 years? But what about that? In his mind he thought, if I take his action for 500 years, Allah will take, he get more high stage, will get Allah will praise him with this much of work, he'll get more happy he'll get. So when that happens, so Allah says, but just go to Jannah with my kindness, my first term, just go away. So what about my ibadah of 500 years? So when you insist on the ibadah of 500 years, so Allah says, okay, let's take an account. Now come, I gave you sight to see. What ni'mat is going to be comparable to compare that to that sight Allah has given you. Normally, person gets old, his sight also goes away. He's dependent on somebody else. He gets blind also. He gets sickness also, whatever it is. He had no sicknesses, nothing. Just one ni'mat I gave you only of my sight. But which ibadah are you going to value it with? He just couldn't answer with that. I said, what about now? Just only one ni'mat of the sight. What about the hearing? What about the speech? What about the hands? What about all other smell? What about all other ni'mats of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So now, then Allah gave the ni'mat of thinking, the capacity to think and to make decisions, and also, what about all the other ni'mats? Then Allah came around the sea there, Allah came one stream of sweet water. What about that ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And normally a person, a tree will give fruit in season only. Yeah, Allah gives every day one pomegranate on it. What about that ni'mat now? And Allah starts counting all the ni'mats Allah gave him. He just couldn't answer anything, and he felt very hurt of, why did he make such a request to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah ta'ala said, okay, take him, put him in Jahannam now. The first time take him to Jahannam, and now he started regretting what he did, and say, Allah, please forgive me, send me to Jannah because of your mercy and kindness, put me to Jannah. That the pride I had with him, boasting I had with myself for the 5 days of ibadat, there is nothing compared to your kindness. So the name of Allah is blessed him with long life also, and sweet water also, and the pomegranate also, and all that. All this other ni'mats of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now Allah all the ni'mats are definitely your ni'mats, and just because of kindness and mercy, put him into Jannah. So now this person is Abid, when he thought in his mind all about this, the ibadat he made for 500 years, and he thought that I'll get very high stage in Jannah also. Allah will praise me also for the ibadat I made without any show to anybody. Thought came to his mind, but he never realized that the kindness and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is much more than that. So because of that, Allah will say that put him to Jahannam now, and put him so far 500 years away from Jahannam, put him. And when the hot wind of the Jahannam will blow towards him, it gets so hot to feel, it feels so tired to feel also, and it feels so thirsty also at the same time, and he will want to have some water to drink. Just then you see one person coming with a glass of water, and tell the person that, give me this water. I'm very thirsty, give me water to drink. That person says, I can't give the water free of charge, I'm going to pay for it. I say, what's the price for this water? He said, the price of water is 500 years of ibadat without any show. So he said, I got the ibadat with me. For 500 years I made ibadat without any show. I got the ibadat for me. So give him the ibadat and take the water to drink. Now when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah say that you chose the price for that water. What have you got left with you now? You got nothing now. What account are you going to give for now? So Allah Ta'ala explained to him, look, I gave you life for so 500 years also. I gave you the pomegranate to eat every day. I give you clean water to drink, every sweet water to drink also every day. That's all my neighbors for me. And your demand from you is just to make my ibadat all. So that person immediately fell in such in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said, I've understood the reality of life and what it is, and I'm not supposed to question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on his actions, whatever it is. So just because of your mercy and kindness, put him into Jannah. So Allah ta'ala, with his mercy and kindness, will put him into Jannah after that. So it shows that we cannot depend on our actions. Our actions will take us to Jannah. It's not that. It's a mercy and kindness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take us to Jannah. With our action haven't got that much of sincerity inside also to take us to Jannah. So whatever happens with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the kindness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we can make our ibadat according to method showed to us by Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That ibadat is acceptable in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're going to do something which is not taught to us by Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and we think that is ibadat, it will not be counted as ibadat in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That will be called bidat, will be called. So whatever ibadat we make which is coincides with the teaching of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then that will be called ibadat and will be rewarded for it. Anything besides that will not be counted as ibadat. It will be called bidat, and we can do a task for that. So we've got to match our ibadat with the teaching of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So in reality, we can understand that we cannot answer or give account for one ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not possible for us to give an account for one ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Example, you see, if you got somebody, hiring somebody to work for you, and he works for you and supply salary for him. Now this person work for you for 8 hours, 7 hours, whatever to work for you. You make sure you work for the full 7 hours properly, then you give him the salary you will give him. And if he don't work according to the condition of yours, then you could cut off his salary also. So you can imagine this person who works for the full 7 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours, can the person really fulfill the rights for that person working for you take out small faults that you did something wrong, you did something wrong here, whatever. Keep that in mind now and think now. And can we also fulfill the rights of the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And you fulfill the ibadat, the demands of ibadat for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala start taking us to task and questioning us that this ibadat you made like this ibadat didn't have ikhlas in it, this ibadat fulfill the farais or the sunnah or the wajibat, never did on time, whatever it is. How are you going to answer Allah subhanahu? So we haven't got the capacity to question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on ibadat we do. And a person has a lot of wishes within himself. He has a lot of concern for himself. He wishes for a lot of things within himself. He has got a lot of desires he's got within himself. And Allah Ta'ala fulfill the desires of yours also. You will be able to fulfill the rights of the desires you fulfilled. Good point upon a thing like that also. When you have a lot of desires, we wish for a lot of things we wish. But and Allah Ta'ala give us all our desires get fulfilled. Can fulfill the rights of the desires Allah has given to us. Got to think in that part. To say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, Allah Ta'ala on the Qiyamah will ask you a question of the ni'mat Allah has given to you. The ni'mat Allah has provided to you, Allah will ask concerning the ni'mat Allah has given to you. So first we got to think now, the ni'mat Allah has given to us, in reality did we ever fulfill the rights of the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not? So it shows how important it is for us to live a life of consciousness with love. We are born in the world as a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah has put some laws and rules and regulations for us to follow. We follow the rules and regulations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we are successful. And the second thing we understand from here, we have got no rights to question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah's decision is fair, and Allah makes a fair decision for everybody. Allah doesn't take sides when we make a decision to anybody. So if you keep that in mind, then we have a comfortable life we live, and could understand the simple thing of life. What Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us is, when Allah Ta'ala blessed you with ni'mats, then we sugar for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And was fulfill the rights of the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you got no problem. And when Allah deprives you of some ni'mat, then definitely Allah's wisdom is in there. That deprive you of the ni'mat, make sabr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the person makes shukr also go to Jannat. The person makes sabr also, he also will go to Jannat. Find many times, find examples, you'll find that somebody, Allah Ta'ala didn't give them any wealth. But that was better for him, because if you get wealth, you go into arrogance. You go against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Should be iman Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was worse for him. So for them, Allah Ta'ala can deprive them of wealth, that the iman can remain intact, and they can make good action and go to Jannah, they can go. So those whom Allah Ta'ala don't like, for them Allah gives them wealth and they become arrogant, and they don't fulfill the rest of the wealth, and for them to go to Jannah, punishment for them. So if we want Allah Ta'ala to love us, then we follow the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fulfill the rights of every ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we will see that goodness coming into our life. They find that peace and contentment coming into our lives. If you don't have contentment in our life, then what's the benefit of the life? If you don't have the contentment and peace within yourself, you can achieve that, then the great ni'mat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, a person will go into depression, he goes. He goes in the thinking mode, he goes off his mind, he doesn't know what is happening. So that happens when the person hasn't got patience with himself. If he's got patience, he won't go into that mode at all. So, and a person fulfill the rights when he got ni'mat, then he won't go into arrogance, and he won't go into boastfulness, he won't go into pride, he won't go into that. So we could keep our balance in our life. I think everything is a ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and could fulfill every rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't have to oppress anybody in this world, in other words. Allah Ta'ala doesn't oppress anybody, so Allah doesn't like people to oppress somebody also. So we must see it, we don't oppress anybody. For example, we got workers, we mustn't oppress our workers. As for example, you got wife and children, you don't oppress your wives and children, you don't oppress them. Allah Ta'ala doesn't like those things there. And remember one thing we call, in order to say, kisi ka hai nahi lena chahiye. Don't take anybody's curses, don't take anybody's bad duas for anybody. That's a very, very bad thing that never ever do that. That if it takes anybody's curses, and that is more worse than anything else. So try and see if fulfill people's rights, then you don't take anybody's curse. And from many examples you find in the kitabs, history books, you find where people took the curse of somebody, hurt somebody, then that was the means of their destruction always. So one incident mentioned in the kitabs. There was one person who got married. He was living very happily with his wife, very, very happy with his wife he was living. And he had no problem, nothing. Food was ready at him, he came home also. So one day the wife asked him that, today what food would you like to eat? He said, I would like this food here. So she cooked the food with love, muhabbat, she cooked the food, everything. And he came home now. He came home, he washed his hands, just on the table, about to eat. And this time knocked the door now. Then knocked the door. Then he went, he saw, it was a beggar. Told the beggar, this time you got to come to me now. It's time for me to eat now. I got no food for you, just go away from here. So wife told him, just give a little bit, but I've got so much food you got now, give him a little bit. I mustn't give them food. The beggar, they're all like that, and they must get changed our food, whatever it is. And the story was over already. Okay. Then after some time, now what happened now? The work he had, job he had also, he lost his job now. And slowly, whatever savings he had, the savings got utilized also. He couldn't make ends meet at the end. At the end he had to sell his house also. Now he's living in a rented house, and still he couldn't make ends meet. So then he told his wife, I'm just going to divorce you, I can't look after you at all now. I said, no, in good times I was with you, bad times I'll be with you, I'll be support with you. He said, no, I don't think I can look after you now. So he divorced her. She was very hurt. She was very hurt without the reason he's divorcing me, and I can't, what must I do, what happened to me now? Anyway, she couldn't do anything, she was divorced. After some time, Allah made it such that she got married. She got married now, and she lived a comfortable life now. The husband also slowly started progressing. He got ni'mat to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He bought a beautiful house also, then he got a car also, he bought everything. And the wife was looked after him very well also. So one day the wife asked the husband, what would you like to eat today also? So he said, he's prepared a dish, he said. She prepared the dish for him very nicely. Now, at evening he comes home now, sitting on a table here, there's a knock on the door again now. So the husband tells her to see what's there at the door. What's happening? So she go to open the door, and she faints. Now the husband, what's happening here now? She quickly revived whatever. We said, what did that person told something, the door, whatever it is, what was happening? She said, no, it's not that. He said, why? He said, the thing is that when I opened the door, I saw the person was begging in front of the house, the door. I recognized that my previous husband it was. He's begging now. That shock alone put me to faint. So anyway, when this whole thing happened, she explained what happened in that transpired there. And this person, second husband, is telling that if that's the case, then I was the beggar who came first by the came. So never ever hurt anybody's feelings, anybody's heart. That high, they call it the hurt of the person, it will never let person succeed at all. So all try to learn to fulfill the rights of the people and try and live happily with people. Rather forego your rights. That's more better than harming somebody else. You have that with now, then you are successful. And as is mentioned in this topic also, we got to prepare for our akhirat. Whatever we do, prepare for the akhirat. You have the focus of the akhirat, focus of the covering also, focus of your death always with you. Then the person will always do good work. He won't violate anybody's rights at any time, and he'll progress, always progress. Allah gives us tawfiq for understanding and practicing to understand the reality of our life and to fulfill the purpose of our life. Subhanallah.